This is Pretty in Black. I am Halo Eden Gray. Today we're going to go over my top 5 K-dramas. I watch K-dramas as listening practice because I am also studying Korean. I am open to suggestions and recommendations, so please feel free to drop your fave top 5 in the comments section. Okay, let's get right into this. So number 5, Chicago Typewriter. It is available on Netflix. If you want to catch it, it's also available on Viki. And the Viki app is free, by the way. So if you don't want to pay for the Netflix subscription, you can get Viki. I really like Chicago Typewriter. It was about these 3 reincarnated people. Well, one of them is actually still a ghost, but he is linked to a typewriter. They were apparently revolutionaries in the 1930s in Korea when Japan was occupying Korea, and now they have been reincarnated to present day, except for the one who's a ghost. He really wants to tell their story, since the other he's one male lead. The other male lead is a writer. The 3 come together. They write down their story so that they can all fully remember what happened to them in the past as well. And it's just a pretty interesting story. I don't want to give too much away because I definitely think you should go out and watch it, right? If there was anything that I particularly would have liked to, improve about it, I do feel like the love story aspect was very subtle. So if you are looking for this really heavy romance or whatever, this is not going to be the drama for you, but the story in and of itself is pretty interesting. So yeah, it's a one-off thing. You can binge it in a weekend, and yeah, good things. Let's move on. Number 4, Fated to Love You / You Are My Destiny. I watched this on Korea on Demand, which is free. It is also on Viki. It is also on Tubi. It is also on Amazon Prime. Okay, it has 2 versions though. There is a Taiwanese version, which on Netflix it is referred to as You Are My Destiny. And Fated to Love You is not on Netflix. And then on Korea on Demand, it is titled Fated to Love You, and that is the Korean version. Okay, when I was reading up on it though, it did say that the Taiwanese version was actually called Fated to Love You and the Korean version was called You Are My Destiny. I don't know if it was just a misprint in what I was reading. Either way, just be on the lookout for either. Just know that one is in Taiwanese and one is in Korean. If I had to choose between the 2, I don't know, it'd be a hard choice. They're very different though. So even if you've seen You Are My Destiny, even if you've seen the Taiwanese version, you could still enjoy the Korean version, because there's up until a certain point, they kind of really venture off in 2 different directions. With the Taiwanese version being somehow a little bit more eccentric. But I do like the actors, the Korean actors in the first one, in the Korean version. So I would recommend either to you, but obviously since I was doing this for my Korean listening practice, I'm going to talk about the Korean one. So Fated to Love You, basically a guy gets drugged, he ends up sleeping with a woman, and she was not really aware. She thought she was sleeping with her boyfriend, he thought he was sleeping with his girlfriend. This was not the case for either, and the woman ends up pregnant. The 2 end up getting married. It's a pretty interesting story. It is not as light as some of the dramas that you'll watch. I do feel like the Taiwanese version is a lot lighter, a lot funnier, kind of, if you want. But there's some really sad parts, I guess, in either, because it's just how the story goes. However, with the Korean version, I do feel like it has at some points a much more serious tone, but there is a lot of good acting in there. I think the lead actor, he's a little over the top, like he has this kind of over the top personality, but I feel like that's like the personality of the character, so it's not like bad acting on his part. I really enjoyed all of the actors in here and actresses, and all in all, it was a pretty good drama. It obviously does focus more on their love, but it does take a more serious tone. So just prepare yourself to cry sometimes, yeah, get your tissue boxes when you go to watch this one. Let's move on. Number 3, Beating Again. Beating Again, I watched it. It was on Netflix. It is no longer on Netflix. It is, however, on Viki. I liked Beating Again. So basically, this woman, she is a high-level secretary for this major company. There's this evil guy who is on a revenge mission to destroy this company, basically. But he has a heart problem that he isn't supposed to die from in a matter of a few months at most, okay? The woman is set to be engaged to her boyfriend. He is a cop. He's a detective, and I really like his character. You can't really get attached to it, but I really like his character. This is not a spoiler alert. He dies. He is an organ donor. So the evil guy gets his heart, and that heart is still very much in love with her. So, yeah, I really like this. In terms of one of my kind of like nitpicks about Korean dramas that tend to bother me, like the Asian dramas in general, is that they will start off with somebody, and actually not even just, when I really think about it, not even just Asian dramas, they do this in American TV all the time, where like the guy is just a horrible individual, and basically he falls in love, and then he is this wonderful, amazing person all of a sudden. Like, love is really going to change it. Just really, honestly, love is not going to make that guy a good guy. He will probably still be very, he'll end up just falling back into that like violence and the degrading and the different things that they were doing at the beginning. So I don't really like this trope of taking this guy who is really just a trash person and making him somehow become this great person just because he fell in love. This drama, in terms of like the contrast between how he starts the show versus how he is later on, it is a huge contrast. Like, he was pretty evil in the beginning. I'm not gonna deny that. I will say, in terms of what the show did to redeem him, I think they did a very good job redeeming him, so that by the time like that they do actually kind of fall in love, you feel like better about it. Like, it wasn't hard for me to root for their love. So so I know that's like, to me, that's the main thing, right? Like, when they start out so evil, sometimes I will just cut the drama off and be like, I don't want these people to fall in love. This is just no thank you. But I was able to root for their love, and so you will probably be able to root for their love too. I have faith in that. Anyways, you should check it out. There you go. Let's move on to my number 2. Okay, so my number 2, I'm not going to say much about my number 2 because I've actually did not 1 but 2 reviews on this particular drama. It is Oh My Ghost. The Korean version is on Netflix, and it is also on Viki. I would definitely watch it. I've watched it twice now. I would definitely watch it a third time. It has a lot of good tropes and a few bad ones too. And I did, like I said, not 1 but 2 videos on this. One, I talk about the good, and one, I talk about the bad. So really quickly, the synopsis is that there is a virgin ghost. She died a virgin. She doesn't want to be a virgin when she goes into the afterlife. So she possesses a cook at a restaurant and tries to seduce her boss. Now, if you want to know more about it, number 1, watch my 2 reviews. I'll drop those links in the description of this video. And number 2, check it out on Netflix or on Viki. Now, moving on to my number 1. If you watched my first review of Wellington and Love, you already know what my number 1 is. It is Korean Odyssey. I absolutely love Korean Odyssey. You can catch it. It is still currently on Netflix. It is also on Viki. Basically, there is this supernatural being, let's go with that. He is imprisoned in this castle. There's this little girl, this school-age girl, who gets tricked into going to the castle to get a fan by the Devil King. And the Devil King tells her not to talk to anybody in the castle. Do not acknowledge them. Just pretend you do not see them. But she did not hold that up. She ends up talking to the supernatural being in the castle. He tricks her into letting him out, and he says that whenever you call my name, I will protect you in the future. And she's like, okay, cool, I'll let you out if you're going to protect me, because since she could see ghosts, she was haunted by them, and so she really wanted this protection. Anyways, he then tells her his name, but then he removes the memory from her head. So no matter what, even if you were to say it to her, she cannot remember his name to ever call on him. So he's not breaking his agreement, right? Well, inevitably, they meet when she is an adult. He ends up protecting her, and due to a magical bracelet, he ends up feeling like he is in love with her. And that is all I am going to say about that. I really, really love the show. I will watch it a bunch more times. Yeah, so that is my number one. So definitely check that out. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay healthy. Like, share, and subscribe. And what's next?